Paul Feig, thank you so much for your time. I am such a huge fan, and I've got so much to talk to you about. First off, before we get started on anything, thank you so much for your evening cocktails and keeping us entertained during this insane pandemic. How did you even come up with this idea?
You know what? I was shooting a pilot in North Carolina in March, and we were the last pilot shooting. And then got this one situation where there's a bunch of us in a room, and I was like, we got to pull the plug. This is just too dicey. Even though at time North Carolina wasn't having any problems, but it just didn't feel right. So got on a plane, came back here. It was in the house and just kind of, went, well, okay, I can sit around and get a lot of work done and write and all that during these, what's probably going to be several months. But I wanted to help somehow, but I'm not a medical expert, obviously. So other than being able to donate money to different causes, I was like, well, what can I do? It's like, well, I'm a comedy guy.
Yeah.
So maybe I can try to entertain people and at the same time I can raise money. But what do I do? Well, I like to make cocktails. I've always wanted to experiment with making cocktails, so I'll do it. And it just turned into, 100 shows later. That's what we did. And we've stopped doing it every day, although we're going to do a new one tomorrow. So we'll probably do it once a week now. Yeah, I miss everybody terribly. It was just
we miss you too.
Thanks. No, I just fell behind on deadlines, but
that's okay. That's okay. Listen, there's other things, and plus now you have your own gin too. Like,
right.
Are you going into a new career here with alcohol?
It's an old career that nobody knew about with me. No, I'm a gin fanatic, and I've always wanted to have my own. And then I was lucky enough to hook up with a company called Minhas, run by Ravinder and Manjeet, and they're great. It's a family-owned business, and we make this premium gin, and I'm very, very proud of it.
Amazing. I know we get it here in Canada now. It's all good. So fantastic. Thank you. Kudos to you. Okay, so let's start with Other Space, because this is a show, obviously, that was created for the web 5 years ago. How amazing is it for you, Paul, to have a show like this? It didn't have a long life, but now can have another life.
Well, I have been working tirelessly for 5 years trying to bring it back. It's one of the things I've done that I'm most proud of. The weird history on it was something I created way back in about 2005, because I had a deal at NBC and created the show that I just loved. And at the time, they didn't know, they weren't doing a lot of single cam, and so they didn't know what to do. So they're like, well, can you make it a multicam? And I was like, I don't know, but I tried. And then they were just like, we don't know what to pair this with. We don't have anything like it. So it went away into my drawer of undone scripts.
Yeah.
And it always stayed front of mind to me, but I had an assistant at the time who read it, and he's like, you got to make this. He goes, I love this. So right at that time, I was in the middle of shooting Spy, and I got contacted by Yahoo Screen wanting to do it. And so we dove in and did it. And, we had a nice budget on it. It's low tech, but still, a decent budget. Yeah, it's, I think the special effects are really good and all that.
It's a lot of fun. It's
really fun. And I'm just so proud of it. And what a dream team of a cast. So we made it, and then sadly, Yahoo Screen just completely cratered and nobody ever saw it.
And now we get it, and now we're going to get it again. So
I know. I hope we get to make more. We had so much fun doing it.
Yeah, I am sure. And I want to ask you, like, when you talk about your cast, one thing about you, you and your casting director, you always hit gold, comedy gold, always, from everything that you do. There is no question about it. When we, even the start of Freaks and Geeks, and now to this, how do you do it? How do you know when you see magic on that screen and who's going to break out?
Well, it all really starts in the auditioning process. It obviously starts in the writing process, and you have to have a great script and great material and all that. But it's really down to the actors, because we can have the greatest script in the world, and if you don't have good people doing it or the right people doing it, it doesn't matter. And so, to me, the auditioning is the biggest part. And you have to go into auditioning with a really open mind, because you kind of have in your brain, okay, the person will look like this, or they'll be like this, they'll be like this. And then people come in, and you have to be able to shift that. If you go like, wow, that person's really funny, but they're not at all what I had in mind, it's like, well, don't let them get away, And so that happened over and over with this show, of kind of like having starting with Karan Soni, who just he came in, I was just like, oh my God, you're so funny. I had always just kind of envisioned myself in the role, just because you tend to always kind of write. So I said, oh, some like big goofy guy, and then here comes Karan, who's so handsome but super funny and all
Yeah.
this. Just like, and he was just, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, I there's nobody else for the role, and that just kind of happened over and over again. But it means you have to bring in a lot of people. And everybody you see is usually good, so you're kind of like, oh, that person can be good, that person can be good, and then you have to be open to that moment of just like, oh my god, that's the person, and then everybody else goes out of your head.
Yeah, absolutely. And has it always been like a secret desire of you to go to space?
Yes, yes, very much so. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to go to outer space. I mean, I had so many bullies, and I was so awkward.
Oh,
And when I saw the movie Close Encounters, I was just like, it wasn't a movie to me. It was like, I want that to happen to me. I would sit up on my roof with a telescope night after night, hoping a UFO would come and take me somewhere nicer. And it never happened. But because of that, I always had a real insane love of sci-fi, and I always wanted to do a sci-fi comedy, but I never liked when sci-fi comedies were just making fun of sci-fi. I
yeah.
wanted to do a comedy that was funny because it was sci-fi, but playing by the rules of sci-fi. And so that's where this came
Yeah, I mean, it's been described as kind of like The Office in space. I mean, you
from.
gave us a great Office episode as well, by the way, I have to say. But it's just so out there. It's so much fun. Because it was made so many years ago. What if they want more episodes? Can you do that?
Easily, my goodness,
Yeah,
it's about people trapped in another dimension. So we could easily drop in on them. It's been 5 years, and I'm
yeah.
dying to know what's going on that ship for the last 5 years.
True, and we have a robot star too, which is kind of interesting. And I know that you have your robot there in your
Art is
vicinity.
in my art is in the lobby.
Yes, art is in the lobby where we should be. Whatever. But that's amazing. Like, I mean, seriously, you're such a forward thinker. Like, I honestly, how do you come up with your ideas? Like, do you have dreams? I want to know what Paul Feig's dreams are like.
Oh, they're horrifying, I tell you that. No, you know what? I just have things that I love. Most of my inspiration comes from genres that I love, that I go, I haven't seen this, and I wish I saw this.
Yeah.
So for me, again, it was like, oh, I love sci-fi and I love comedy, but I haven't seen the sort of the sci-fi comedy I've always wanted to see. I've seen ones that I really like, but I just, there's a certain tone and type of character and type of situation I always wanted to play with. And
Yeah.
so that's usually the inspiration. I think my inspiration is always a reaction to not seeing exactly what I would like to see.
Right. Yeah. No, that's so cool. Okay. Now I have an interesting question for you, because when we look back at your career and a lot of the stuff that you have given us, very female centric, some amazing, amazing performances, from Bridesmaids to Spy to He to, like, on and
Oh,
on to now what we have, Zoe's Playlist, which we're going to talk about in a minute because I love that show, and Love Life, etc. etc. How do you know women so well? How do you express them so well on the screen?
well, I mean, the main thing is you have to work with great women, and you have to let everybody tell you what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm very much a believer of, there should be parity behind the camera, so that men and women are equally vetting each other as they move forward, and so we're not hopefully creating stereotypes of each other.
Hmm.
But I just grew up around a lot of women. I was an only child. I was close with my mom. My next door neighbors were a family of 8. 6 of them were girls. Most of them were my best friends, in school and drama club and everything. I was always hung around with girls because I had so many bullies as guys. So all my friends were either really nerdy guys like myself, or women. And because of that, I just had, I didn't have that weird image of women that guys who only look at women for dating purposes have. So as I always say, like, the most healthy thing any parent can do for a young boy is to let them be friends with girls,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that it becomes this weird wall of like, well, they're the other, and they're weird, or they get in our way. And then, on top of it, look at how women have been portrayed in the media for so long, especially in comedy, where
Yes.
they're just like either, roadblocks to the good time a guy's having, or they're the prize, but they're not equals, and they're not allowed to be funny in so many things. And it just all kind of added up to drive me crazy, and going like, this isn't reflective of all the amazing women I know in my life. And so I just
Yeah.
wanted to change that.
Yeah, and like I say, you've worked with so many great women. So when you're working on a movie like Bridesmaids or, Simple Plan or whatever, it doesn't, or Ghostbusters, of course, is it really as much fun off the set as we see when we see the finished product?
Oh yeah. Oh, very much so. I mean, we have a great time. First things is I always vet everybody I work with to make sure that
Sure.
he's a nightmare. Just because I can't work in a situation where there's tension. We're doing comedy, and you want it to be fun, and you want everybody to be supportive of everybody. You can't have good comedy can't have divas in it because everybody is dependent on everybody else.
Right,
You're
right.
not you can't be funny if the person you're up against isn't funny or isn't setting you up correctly.
Mhm.
And so we just have the greatest time, but again, like early in my career, when I was not even early in my career, when I was going to do when I was going to do Bridesmaids, I had some producer who I know, he's a friend. He was like, "Oh boy, get ready. That set's going to be crazy. All these women, there's going to be fighting and all this stuff." And I was like, really? I don't really think that's going to happen. And it didn't happen. But this
Yeah.
weird kind of thing that guys have of like, boy, you got a bunch of gals together and they're going to go nuts. It's like, we got to stop this sort of like 1950s Lockhorns view of the women, that seems to be out there and, has classically been out there.
Yeah. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist because first of all, I'm a Broadway girl. I love anything that's musical. Just that's it. I'm in, and I love Jane, and I love this cast, and I think it's a brilliant show. And congratulations that we're going to see a season two.
Yeah,
Cannot wait
great.
whenever that happens. But I spoke to Peter Gallagher last week. We had a great chat, and I am so blown away by his performance because for most of it, he just sits there and it's really quite an extraordinary show. You must be so proud of it.
I'm so proud of that show for so many reasons. I mean, you know, I produced that show, and it everything. I've been in enough situations where with producers who kind of like are on top of you the whole time, and my whole way of doing is I make sure the idea is great. I make sure the people we're bringing on are great, and then
Mhm.
I get out of their way. And Austin came in with such an amazing. Austin Winberg came in with the most. It was such a personal story to him because his father went through what Peter Gallagher
Yes,
went.
yes,
And I just knew from having done Freaks and Geeks, if you've got that heavy of an emotional connection to something, you are going to do an awesome job with it.
yeah.
And it's going to be your voice. But then, getting the amazing Jane Levy, my God, it just that entire cast, Mary Steenburgen, Skylar Austin, it just goes
Yeah,
on.
Lauren. I mean, it's crazy how the talent in that, and Elise Goldsberry, who was in Hamilton. I mean,
Oh
my
my!
God.
Then having Mandy Moore as the
Yes, the
choreographer,
choreographer.
who's
Oh,
so inventive. Because there was many things. When they pitched, when Austin pitched the show, and when I said I wanted to do it, I had moments of like, can the show sustain? How can they do all these musical numbers? Can you do dance numbers in that time? But they figured it out. I mean, those dance numbers, if you watch, the majority of them are single shots. With this steady cam going around,
yeah,
but you get to see
brilliant.
the art of the dance. You get to see all the pure performance as opposed to cutting somebody's feet and cutting somebody's arms and that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I'm so proud of that show, and I hope it gets some kudos this award season
I
because I
hope so too. Well,
everybody involved deserves it.
I'm in on it. That's for sure. And then quickly, Love Life with Anna Kendrick. I mean, that was you got that in under the radar too. Like, I mean, just another like, wow, what a great performance from her.
Oh, I mean, this is my second time working with
Yeah,
Anna, and yeah,
you
because
worked with her in Toronto with Blake Lively.
oh my gosh, I love it. I love it there so much. I miss
Yeah.
Canada. My mom was Canadian, so
I know that. Yeah. Well,
I
you're
got.
welcome. You're listen. As soon as the borders open again, you're always welcome back. So.
Well, I'm in the final process of getting dual citizenship, so I'm soon to be officially one of you. So.
Well, you're very very welcome. That's for sure. But yeah, but just her anchoring this show is pretty quite
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Well, it was just so fun to work with her on A Simple Favor, and we were developing that show at the same time. And I remember kind of going like, we got to work with Anna again, and going like, would she ever do this? Because it's a TV series. She's never done like a full length TV series, but yeah, she just fell in love with it, and she had so many ideas. And then she met with Sam Boyd, who created the show, and they just hit it off. And she was, we made her an EP on it. And she's like a real executive
Yeah.
producer on it because she
Um,
had a lot so much she contributed.
Amazing, amazing. Well, like I say, honestly, I could talk to you for all night. Honestly, I could sit here and I have a
Do it.
million. I wish. Nah, I'm sure you got other people to talk to too. But honestly, with this pandemic, obviously everything is just on hold. But I hope you have, your wheels are turning. Do you have something that you're working on that you think that as soon as we get back to shooting, that we'll see more from you?
Oh yeah, I mean, I got a couple of things. I got a big movie over at Netflix that we're just in prep on right now called The School of Good and Evil, which
Okay.
is it's a series of books that are very, very popular.
Yeah.
But it's just, I love that. I fell in love with the characters and the story and the tone and the setting, everything about it. So we're getting ready to do that, and I'll be shooting that if all, goes well.
Yeah. Who's in that? Who will we see?
We don't know yet. We're not sure yet.
Okay.
We're in the midst
Okay.
of casting right now.
Great.
It's a big movie. So we'll start shooting that in London in January if all goes well.
Awesome.
And then, we're hoping to get a pickup on the show that I was shooting when I shut down at the beginning of the quarantine, which is called This Country.
Mm-hmm.
It's a remake of a BBC show that's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. It's like a fake documentary about this small town and these two cousins in this small town. It's all performance based. It's all character based, hilarious. And we found the greatest cast ever for this show. And so
I'm sure.
we want to finish it. But I was able, even in that one day, I was able to shoot enough stuff that we could cut together a 16-minute presentation pilot. So they like that so much, they ordered 3 more scripts. So I've written a script. Jenny Bix, the show writer's written a script, and somebody else is writing another one. And so fingers crossed, I'll be able to finish that and shoot a few more episodes in August and then head off to London to start prepping in September for the movie.
Amazing. Well, just my last question. Where does all your energy come from?
Booze.
Back to the booze. We just brought it all back full circle.
No, I am so lucky to get to do what I wanted to do my entire life, and now I get to do it. That's why I wear a suit and tie all the time. I mean, on set, whenever I work, it's like I'm so honored to work with the talented people I get to work with and get to do and tell stories the way I want to. I would never take it for granted, and I feel like the luckiest person in the world. And as long as they let me keep doing it, I'll keep wearing this.
No, listen, you have brought me so much joy to my life. I can't even tell you. I have to thank you so much for that. And if there's one of your movies that you could do a sequel for, which one would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I love spy. I would love to do another spy, but I love Ghostbusters too. I would, I'm not a big sequel guy, but there's certain ideas that just can carry forward because they just have, the idea behind them has a lot of depth.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you so much for everything, Paul. It's such a joy for me to talk to you today. And I can't wait to watch you back on Instagram. So cheers to you. And again, thank you for everything. You're just marvelous. Such a great guy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bonnie. I appreciate it. And if anybody wants gin, pick up Arding Stalls, wherever you can.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to head out to the liquor store right now.
Yes.
Okay, take care,
Thanks,
Paul.
Bonnie.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Great to see you.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.